All right, so after the discussion of all the Flutter UI widgets and container and also Scaffold, let's actually turn into another important topic, which is the layout. All right, so we haven't really explained the layout yet, but we have been using the layout since day one, right? So every time when we're modifying the UI, and you can actually see there's something called column right here, right? So the column contains children, which is a list of widgets, and then inside this widget list you can put a lot of things. You got an image, you got a text, and then text and text, and this one here, the input box, and then 2 buttons, right? So all of these are contained in this list of widgets from column, and the column is a very commonly used UI layout. All right, so the column means it's just like a table column. So it puts everything vertically, row by row. Okay, so like this first one here, and the next one will be below it. So one after another in sequence, but vertically. Right, so this is definitely a very probably the most popular layout in mobile, because most of mobile devices are vertical like this screen, and then it's very easy for people to see it and to interact with this kind of layout. So that's why it's a very commonly used layout. You really need to master this column layout, right? So let's actually start over, and I want to kind of show you exactly how everything works. All right, so because this one is based on this sample example. All right, so I'm going to create a new screen here. Okay, let's kind of review how to do a new screen and how to do the navigation, right? So I'm going to go here, right here, click on a new file, Dart file. I will call this one as a column demo. All right, this is my file. All right, so this one I'm going to create a new screen. Now I already talked about that. To do the new screen, you basically need to have 2 classes. One is this page state class, and then you also need this state class together, right? So to do that, let's actually come back here. In the previous lessons, I showed you that you can just copy, paste, and code and change the name. Let me also show you another way to do a quick screen here. In Android Studio, okay, you can actually do a kind of shortcut typing. So right here, okay, I'm gonna do STFUL. So this one stands for stateful widget. So that's why you can see I want to create a new stateful widget. And then if I just do something like this, and immediately it just gave you all the code template for you to use, right? So here you have to type the name. So this one I'm gonna call it column demo page. I'm going to show how the column works. As you can see, you type the name and then it just automatically put everything here for you. All the names will be modified. Once you're done, hit enter, and the class is built. All right, so it's very convenient, but you're still missing the import. So you have to go back here, import, and I'm going to import material. Okay, that's something that you have to import every single page. All right, so then you're done. You build this new page here, and that's very clean and easy. So as you can see, this one clearly shows you the structure of a page. You need a stateful widget, something called a page, and then this one here, create a state. The create state class has this thing called a build. That's where you return the UI. Okay, now let's actually try to go to this new screen here. All right, so I'm gonna go basically from here for the main screen. Let's say I'm gonna click on this button this time. All right, I will click on one of the buttons. Maybe I click on the second button here, this raise button. All right, instead of increasing the counter right now, so if I click on this one right now, I'm gonna go to the next screen, right? So to go to the next screen, and then don't forget about the basic navigation. So Flutter navigation. All right, so you can actually find out this little example. Actually, let's find out this one here. Navigate to a new screen and back. So this one here, I think this is the code, all right, and then put it back here. I'm gonna navigate that into a new screen, which is the column demo page, this one here. Always use the column auto completion, because if you do this one here, it will actually automatically import it for you at the top. So you don't have to do that manually. All right, so come back here, and then I'm gonna rewrite my app. Okay, this time I'm gonna click on the confirm button. Right, and this one frozen. Let's actually see why that happens. So, part of the reason when this one happens is because I create a brand new file and I just use this hot load button, right? So that's the case that you probably have to rerun the app completely because it didn't know the code is here because this is a brand new file. It's not in the memory yet. So I'm going to rerun this one. We're going to see if that fixed the problem. All right, and then try this again. All right, so let me make sure, right? I'm going to stop this whole app and then run this completely. All right, when you have this kind of issue, definitely you need to double check if this is the cause. Because the hot load basically always refreshes things already in the memory, but in this case, we are adding a brand new file, a brand new page, all the import stuff. So not sure if that's going to be picked up by the hot load. All right, but then let's rerun the app completely. All right, so now I'm going to click on the button. All right, it still doesn't show up. And then let's actually see this column right here. And for the column, it creates a state, and then it just returns a container. So maybe, because this one only can give you an empty container, so it's not really a screen. So that's probably the cause. Okay, so let's actually keep going and then see if that's going to fix it. So I already talked about if you have a brand new empty screen like this. Okay, let's actually start with the Scaffold because Scaffold gave you the total page layout. So I'm going to delete this one here. I'm going to do a Scaffold. All right. For the Scaffold, you got a few different things you can do. You can do the app bar, right? And then this is called app bar. And then you can put the title. This time I'm going to just hardcode the title. Okay, so it's a column demo. All right, and this one should be wrapped with a text. Okay, so let's actually refresh the page, see if that's going to cause a problem. Yeah, this is going to fix the issue. So let me actually explain previously, we're not returning a Scaffold, we're just returning an empty container. So that's not a real page. That's why I can't show it. So that's why I go back here, click on this button. All right, so it shows up here. Go back and then click on the button. That's the title bar. All right, so again, you can have this or not, but the most important part is something called body. All right, and the body is where you specify all the widget and then layout. Right, so this time I'm going to start with a body with a column. All right, so I'm going to type column and then brackets. All right. So once I decide to use a column, that means I'm gonna consider my whole screen as kind of a vertical arrangement. So everything will be placed one after another in sequence vertically. All right. So for column, and then the most important thing is something like children. All right. So that's where you can put all the different elements inside. Right. So let's try this. Let's try the thing we already talked about. I got a text. I got a title one here. All right. And then rerun it. And you got this little title here. All right, I'm gonna do a title 2 and 3 and rerun it. And you can see everything you place here will be lined up vertically one after another. And because these are all contained under the column. Okay, let's try some other things, like maybe we do a button. All right, I'm gonna do a raised button. And then this child text. All right, I'm gonna do a login. All right, so that's a button also being placed after there. The button is not enabled because you did not put unpressed. If I do unpressed, that's gonna fix it. All right, now the button can be clicked. And I can do another button, maybe I will do a sign up button. All right, so that's pretty much how it works, right? Everything you place here under the column will be lined up like in a column of a table, one by one in sequence. All right, really easy to understand. That's how the column works. Now, by comparison, okay, we can also show you that one later on. There's another we call a row. Okay, if you want to place the things horizontally, now you could actually change this one into something called a row. Okay, if you do this, and let's see what happens if I rerun this. And then the things will be placed horizontally. Okay, that's how you do the row. Okay, so we'll also use a row in the future, but now I'm gonna go back and then change it back to a column. All right, so that's very easy. Okay, now if you go back, because this is a really concise example, if you go back to see this one, that's pretty much how it works. All right, so for the column, and I got a list of children, you got this one, and one by one, all the widgets one line up at the list, right? So same thing right here. No matter how many you put, and they will actually give you this kind of vertical alignment. Now, some of the things you can specify about a column. Number one, what if I want everything to be centered, right? So that's probably more common for mobile devices. This is all to the left, right? So I think to do that, you can configure something called main axis alignment. All right, so the main axis is talking about axis here, this line here. All right, so keep in mind this main axis is depends on whether you are using the column or row. If you use the column, this is the main axis because we're talking about a vertical direction. If you're talking about row, the main axis will be a vertical line, that axis. All right, so if you do this one, and you can search for main axis actually alignment, and then let's do something like center. So that means I want to, center everything along that line. All right, so let's try to run this one here. All right, so you will see that we put everything along that main axis alignment line here. So let me clarify. So the main axis is the axis right here, from here top to the bottom, because this is the column. If you center them here, everything will be placed in the center of that axis, because that's how you can do it. Now by comparison, there's another thing called a cross axis alignment. Okay, and then if you do this one, if you also put that to the center, the cross should be talking about this line right here. Let's see if that works. All right, so that's not gonna work right here. And then if you want to center it, and then we probably need to use a different approach. Okay, and then we'll come back to talk a little bit about this one here. If you want to center things all the way to the middle, and then we gotta use another approach to center it. Okay, so if you look at the previous example here, they actually did another thing called center. So actually they center the whole thing about the whole column, and then everything will be centered. Okay, so you can also try that one. So you can wrap this whole column with something called a center. All right, so I'm gonna do that. Center. All right, center at the child, and then you can then place all the column stuff, okay, inside. All right, so that comes back to our previous example. If you do this, rerun it. All right, so that's gonna center everything. All right, so just keep in mind that when you're trying to align this whole thing inside a column or rows, and you can actually first choose to use this main axis alignment or cross axis alignment. And then you of course need to see if that works for you or not. And if not, let's figure out something else. The reason that I don't want you to memorize anything is because some of this is a little bit confusing in the beginning, but the best way is to go ahead and try it and then play around with this parameter to see if you can get a different result. Okay, so that's how it works. All right, about the center, about the alignment. All right, now in general, column is really easy to use. Just basically put everything here one by one and you get it, right? But a very, very important thing to know about column is how do you actually control the space and the height. All right, in a very general situation, right? So for example, let's actually try to build a little login screen. A login screen will basically a little logo here, and then login sign up button. Maybe also we need the text field, right? So let's go back here, right? So this is the one we are talking about. Coming back here, pretty much this is already a login screen, right? So we just need to change it, right? So before I come back here, I'm gonna go back to this example. Now I want to show you how you actually assign the different space for different components. All right, so in this case we're going to use something called weight. All right, so the way it works is that I can, if you have these 5 different things on the screen, now you could actually tell Flutter, every widget how much space it should take. So for example, I want to use most of the top part here for the first 2 titles, and this one here go to the next title, and then these two buttons should stay to the end right here. Right now they're all together. Now one way you can do is you can specify margin, you can add some space, but that's not very flexible because you are hard coding some of the margin number, right? So if you are using the column, okay, so one thing you can do is something called expanded. All right, so let me show you an example. I'm gonna come back to here to the text here. All right, so I'm gonna apply some kind of a widget just like container. Okay, it's called expanded. This one here. All right, brackets and parentheses, and then I do a child, and after that I'm gonna move this title right here. All right, and I add a comma. All right, so I'm gonna add this one called expanded to this text, and let's run and see what happens. If I do this, I run this app, and then suddenly this title 1 actually is just split with all the title 2, 3, and the rest of stuff. The reason they got split is because, actually, let's take a look at the line. All right, so this one here, title, this one takes most of the space, as you can see right here. The title 1, that's all its space, because we actually told Flutter that I want to expand it. And that's basically what it does. It's just expand and then take all the space for title 1, and the rest will remain to whatever space they need. They just get the minimum space they need. That's how you do the expand. So I can do the same thing. I can just expand maybe the next one as well. I will do the expanded, child, text, put it here, run this again. All right, as you can see, both titles are expanded, and then the ones who are not being expanded will just stay here with this minimum space. And then you can also try to expand the next button. For example, I can expand it. All right. So the button is also expanded, right? So let me actually go back here, close this one so that it's easier to watch. All right. So now this one, and then the title and the icon, a button, and here is a button that it's going to give you all this expansion, right? So that's what you can get from here. So that basically tells you that if you do the expand, Flutter is going to give you the maximum space for you to use. All right. So now there's other things you can do. For example, if I gave expand to everybody, actually, let's see what I can do very quick. I can expand child, and then expand it. All right, something wrong here. Okay, so everybody has been expanded. Now, when you do the expand for everyone, basically what happened is they equally split the space. So for this whole screen, there are 5 elements. Every element actually got, 1/5 of the screen equally, right? So you might wondering, okay, how can I give different ones? For example, I want the title 1, title 2, title 3 to get more than these 2 buttons. Okay, that's when you can use the weight. Okay, so you can basically go to the expanded. There is an attribute called flex. Now flex, after that you can specify a number, and the number can be just used as a weight or a ratio or kind of percentage. Let's say I want to do maybe 50%, 50%. No, 15 too small. Let's do 20, 20, 20. Right now it's all 20. Maybe we do 20, 25, 25, 25. All right, so I'm gonna put 25% here. This one here, 25%, and then this one here, 25%. But this one here, we will actually give, there are only 25 left, right? So each will do 12.5. So I will do a 12.5, and then you can't do the float number. Let's just do 12, okay? And this one here, 12. All right. So if you do this, it's going to try to rearrange it. As you can see, these ones get bigger, where these buttons, get less. All right. So that's how you can use the flex to give the percentage of the weight and to the widget, so that actually it's easier to for you to arrange the space. And later on, you will see the example on how to apply some of the flags to arrange the things correctly. All right, but this is very flexible, so you can actually just change anything you want. For example, I want to give this one a little bit higher. This one give 35%. Okay, this one give 20, and this one give 20. The number doesn't matter. You don't have to use the 100 number. You can do smaller number. What matters is all the ratios among these numbers. Okay, so I sometimes use the 100 total because it's easier for us to calculate. So this one got the most space, and then you can see that's how it works. All right. Now inside this one, if you want to align it, and then again, there are different ways to do it. You can align it with a container. Let's try this one. I'm going to use the shortcut again. Wrap with container. All right, so that's how you can do a container. I kind of briefly told you if you want to align that in the center. So I'm going to do alignment. I'll do alignment center and do it, and then this one becomes center. But the space it has still, is the biggest, 35% of the whole screen. Okay, so this expanded plus flex is very commonly used in the column layout. Okay, so it's a great way to kind of specify the position and everything.